It's grim. It's genre defying. It's getting smacked in the face and asking to be smacked again because the first time didn't hurt enough. It's Dark Souls. I recently saw this guy make this video and thought, it's time for Papa to get into the trenches. Charlie argues that the Souls-like genre is beginning to feel a little oversaturated, and I get it, man, okay? It's impossible to ignore. I mean, you got Souls-like games where you're a warrior, Souls-like games where you're a ninja, Souls-like games where you're a warrior ninja, but you're a monkey. Souls-like games where you're a warrior crab, Souls-like games where you're a warrior human turned puppet, Souls games in 2D, with bug mode, and without, and that's not even including the games that got this whole house party started. We got Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3. Sheesh, dude. Oh my God. For the past several years, I've seen the buzz. When I was in class mastering the book, it feels like the world around me was mastering dodge rolls and how to chug Sunny D. So much hype and wonder. Was I missing out? I mean, it's been 14 years since the release of Dark Souls 1, and I've gone 14 years without seeing the game in action. I think it's time. I think it's finally time that I try. Let's just quickly hash over that Dark Souls 1 isn't the game that started it all. Okay, that would probably go to its older brother, Demon Souls, which came out in 2009. This was me in 2009. Did I look ready for this game then? I don't think so. But damn, I'm a looker. Hey, yo. You can see it, right? Same guy, different day, same guy. So like any good parent would, I'm going to ignore the older child and stay focused on its younger sibling. I'll also add that I am playing the remastered version, not the original. I started the game blind in July and finished it in October. So this video is my retrospective thoughts on playing about 4 months of Dark Souls 1. If you want to see an extended and lightly edited version of my reactions playing the game, you can see the full saga video in the description. Welcome to Lordran, the aptly named world of Dark Souls 1. Because Lord, I encourage you better ran away from here as soon as possible. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, I know. Joining me was Newt, a benevolent and noble hero. Am I like a bad guy? Who was looking to claim the throne of the current undead king. Before starting this game, I had 2 preconceptions. The first was that this game was unforgiving and difficult. Was this going to be hard? I'm sorry, how? How? Oh my God. Of course, prior to playing Dark Souls, I had an idea of what a Souls-like game was. You know, I knew what the gameplay loop looked like. And if you don't, it's something like this. Make character, explore area, die, explore area and find bonfire to respawn at. Find boss, throw yourself at big boss, die. Do it again until you slay the witch, collect the souls of the damned, and do it all over again. So my experience isn't totally blind. I've seen clips of the rolling, I've seen clips of the frustration. It's kind of like me when I take my glasses off. You got 4.5 and negative 4.25. So in the distance, I can tell you there's some blobs, okay? But are they people? Are they skeletons? Are they people with skeletons in them? I don't really know. I don't know. And just like me trying to drive without my glasses, how hard can it really be? I mean, when I boot up the game and I pick up the controller for the first time, I ask myself, how hard can this really be? No, dude! No! Oh! No! Why did like 5 times in a row? Now, I would be a big little liar if I said that this game was a total breeze. Okay, but I want to preface my feelings by saying that I did at times get a little bit lucky. I skipped the depths, and instead of using the front door to go to Blighttown, I used the much easier back door. I ran through Sen's Fortress in total fear and was shoved off a cliff, but I found a bonfire. I mogged the Anor Londo archers so hard, they just let me walk right on by. I used my spider senses to find a hidden bonfire in Lost Izalith. By the time I learned what the Capra Demon was or what a pinwheel is, I was so far ahead on levels, they were very, very easy. There were numerous moments throughout the game that I experienced positively that I could imagine someone who didn't get lucky might not feel the same way that I did. If you asked me, is Dark Souls a hard game? Before playing, I would say, yeah, probably. But if you asked me that same question now, is Dark Souls a hard game? I'd say, yeah, kind of. To me, Dark Souls difficulty felt like a series of reoccurring exponential curves. On the x-axis is time spent in an area or at a boss, and on the y-axis is difficulty. Each curve starts at the bottom, and as the line rises, the game gets easier. When you enter a new location or you start a new boss, you have no knowledge. But through repeated exposure and exploration, the game gets much easier quickly. The map that was once archaic begins to feel familiar. Like when you were a kid in the backseat of your car and you're pulling up to home, and in your mind, you know you're home, and you wake up and you're like, oh, I must be home. And it's because you could tell in the grooves of the ground that you were home. The once unbeatable bosses actually have patterns and tells as to signal what they're going to attack with next. The only way you can beat them is by learning. Dark Souls has a neat way of starting off difficult and ending trivial. And the extra secret sauce is that it's not driven by character strength, it's driven by player knowledge. How cool. There are numerous times throughout my playthrough where my chat would say, oh, if only you knew how easy this boss was. And I'd say, yes, I'd love to know. I would freaking love to know, dude. And even when I wasn't using a strategy that made a boss trivial, recognizing the patterns and memorizing the map layouts made the game start to feel more like a playground and less like a torture chamber. In my countless attempts to beat them, my character didn't get any stronger. I got smarter. I used a different weapon to attack faster. I memorized their attack patterns to find opportunities to strike, and I started to use the room to my advantage. And at the end of it all, I look back on that fight and think, oh, you know, that wasn't so bad. And maybe that's Stockholm Syndrome. Or maybe that's just Dark Souls. My second preconception was that Dark Souls had cool bosses. After playing, it's a mixed bag of some absolute Chad threats, bosses that'll give you the beat down and make you beg for a little bit more. Oh, mister, please, mister, hit me one more time. I'll give you a little penny, mister, please. Please, I want you to beat me. I want you to kick my ass, mister. Oh. And then you got the janitor. You got the kids who dressed up as ghosts for Halloween. You got the little lava boy who was told that he has to go to school despite having a little cold. Dude, don't freaking sneeze on me. Otherwise, I'm going to ceaselessly discharge you back into your locker, you freaking nerd. Loser ass nerd, dude. That's what they called me in high school, the ceaseless discharge. If I had to give a favorite boss award, it goes to Quelaag. Learning her moveset and reacting accordingly, it just felt super satisfying. Seeing her bend down to pet the little bug boy that she's stuck in and knowing I gotta get the hell out of town before she explodes. Fantastic. Knowledge is the strongest weapon in Dark Souls, and this fight is where I learned that lesson. It's where I brought those skills to other hard, awesome fights in the game, like Manus and Artorias and Lord Gwyn. Worst boss award goes to Bed of Chaos. Wasn't much of a fight. And to Pinwheel. Dude, you're just disappointing. You just stink. Everybody point and laugh at Pinwheel. And if you really care, this is how I feel about the rest of the bosses. I didn't fight them all. After finishing the game, I emerged with not only my preconceptions shaken, but my own opinions on the game. And after 14 years, I'm sure that these are all very original. I'm copywriting them. Don't freaking say it. I said these before anybody else. I had these ideas long before you were even born, okay? It starts on the character creation screen. The music in my ears, what is that? This mystery, this fantasy. What are these stats? What are these classes? I don't remember much about the music from this game, but the character creation screen song sets the tone for mystery. I'm the type of person that likes to pick a class based on vibes, so I went with the deprived, unclothed enigma, armed only with a club and old plank shield. That's the same thing my mom said when I was born. The pendant. No effect, but fond memories comfort travelers. Cool, so it just does nothing. How bold! It's giving me the opportunity to pick up the first thing that I'd find at a Midwestern yard sale. I can't help but think that this description is lying to me, which also makes me think that there might be unreliable narratives throughout the game. Mystery. Something I grew to appreciate Dark Souls for was the way in which it delivered lore to me as the player. Yes, we get cutscenes, but the game leaves a lot of gaps to fill through item descriptions, through NPC dialogue, and through the bosses. I didn't expect the vehicle of the game's lore to be so much of the game itself, when most games that I play either have no story whatsoever or inundate you with the who, what, when, where, why of your existence. It's the subtle things, like standing in the ceremony hall after you beat Ornstein and Smough and seeing two statues, one of Lord Gwyn, the other of Guinevere, and a third empty spot where a statue should be. A symbol, because the brother is underneath the basement as a secret boss fight. When you run by the undead dragon, you can find a soul of a proud knight, an armor, and a weapon tucked in between its claws. It's cinematic. It's a for sale baby shoes never worn moment. It's telling me that somebody died here fighting this thing. When you're in the prisons of the Duke's archives, you can find a firekeeper's soul and a giant prison cage, suggesting that maybe there was once a firekeeper who was also a giant. The whole Artorias storyline slowly unravels. You visit his grave and fight Sif to collect the Covenant of Artorias, a ring that lets you traverse the abyss. Well, in the DLC, when you fight Artorias, he's all purple and shit, he's covered in goo, and it turns out he was corrupted by the abyss. I guess he forgot to wear his covenant. I don't know. So many questions are left unanswered in my first playthrough, like who and what are the primordial serpents? What happened at the kiln of the first flame? Did it explode or something? Why did it look like that? And I still don't really understand what the whole going hollow thing is. Am I dead? Am I undead? If I'm dying, why am I able to just walk around and be fine? But the guy at the beginning who gives me his Estus flask is also going hollow, but he actually dies. Why am I respawning at bonfires? How do bonfires work? The cool part is it doesn't really matter. It doesn't take away from my enjoyment of exploring the areas or fighting the bosses. It just adds a little bit of mystery. The game doesn't hold your hand, but it doesn't leave you hanging entirely either. I really appreciate the menu item helpers that come up after every death. I had to accidentally use my first Firekeeper's soul to realize that I should read the description of an item before using it. Oopsies. So they're better now. My flasks, I guess. The mystery is sewn into the map. It folds on itself like a well-constructed piece of origami. Each location feels distinct despite its adjacency to something entirely different. I loved the map. I was frequently excited and surprised when I found that two very disparate areas were actually very close together through a shortcut or through something that you discover later in the game, like the Gargoyle Church and the Firelink Shrine, or the New Londo Ruins and the Valley of the Drakes. I appreciate how the hub that can be so foreign when you first arrive can turn into the central point of familiarity as you play and improve and progress throughout the game. For a world that feels so connected, it never feels claustrophobic or constrained, especially when you visit Anor Londo, the shining city. When you crest over the hill, you can't help but think, oh my God, holy shit, there's still so much more for me to discover. And along the way, Mystery is the undercurrent. What is this city? Why does it feel abandoned? The maps are supported by the enemies. You've got your run-of-the-mill skeletons. You got snakes. You got some enemies that make me wonder what the fuck they were thinking, dude. Disgusting. Yuck. And then, of course, the mystery is revealed. These nasty bugs attack with fire because the boss is a big nasty bug that attacks with fire. Inside of the Duke's archives, these little crystal boys, they're covered in crystals because you have to take the crystals off of Seath in the crystal cavern in order to actually beat him. That one might be a little bit of a stretch, but you know, crystals. Oh. While there were times that the enemies helped contribute to the sense of mystery, they were also the leading cause of why. For a game titled Dark Souls 1 Remastered, I didn't always feel the remastered bit come through. Network connection issues felt obtuse when I had no intention of playing with other people or against other people. I don't even know how to do that. Enemy attacks would often go through walls or hit you mid-roll, and this was especially prevalent in the Ornstein and Smo fight. Sometimes Mr. Ornstein would get stuck behind Mr. Smo when trying to dash because Mr. Smo, he's just such a big little boy. Just such a big little boy. And Mr. Ornstein would say, "Oh, I'm just trying to get around you, Smo." And Smo would be like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And then Mr. Ornstein would go pop out of nowhere and freaking pop you in the face, dude. You didn't freaking see it coming. You're wondering where he is, and he's just freaking holding this spear, dude. He's just holding this spear like this, getting ready to rev it up. Piece of shit. I can't get mad. Especially when the same thing happens to those poor gargoyles. I'm standing still and the halberd phases through me. Skill diff, sorry loser. I played on my PC, and occasionally when I would alt tab out of the game and go back in, it would change from full screen to windowed mode. Why? There's also just some ledges and cracks in the game that if you walk on incorrectly, you'll just fall to your death, which is, it's really just funny. Now, the first time you encounter Seath in the Duke's archives, it's a planned death. You're supposed to die. But as a new player, I didn't know that, so I'd give it a few tries. And during one of my attempts, I found a spot that you can just stand still in right next to the guy, and then he can't hit you. So that's cool. Sorry, dude. Also, what the fuck are these guys? Little bone wheel rolling boys. They're not really buggy so much as they are just ridiculous. Very, very silly. This is no shade to a game that's 14 years old. It just makes me wonder what they did when they remastered the game versus the original port. More often than not, I found the bugs and jank kind of endearing. In the middle of something very intense and serious, the dial would be forcefully turned down to goofy and ridiculous. Take this extended fight with a dragon. The guy got stuck on a cliff ledge, tried to jump up, and promptly fell to its death. Or how about this one? Same dragon, different day. It got so tired of the stench of my undead ass that it said, peace out, and phased through the wall. Or how about this guy who got a work memo to heat up the bridge before winter and then tried to land but also fell off a cliff? Am I doing something wrong? No, it's just Dark Souls. And for my non-dragon example, we have Mr. Knight who turned on SV cheats and no-clipped through the wall. Valve fucking banned this guy. I feel like at times I was playing Counter-Strike. I was checking every corner before I went into a room, making sure I wasn't going to get stabbed in the back. Gotta feel real bad for the low-life patrol who was told, wait right there in that corner until you die. And then the next guy to come through is the successor to the King of the Undead, dude. It's almost my time, baby. I absolutely adore the slow, methodical approach of peeking around a corner only to see some big-ass freak waiting for you and then deciding to not go in that room because F that. The same monster stare 180s from goofy to creepy when you go to the only dark area in the game and you see some creepy sack of bones staring at you with its blue eyes in the darkness. Nice try, buddy. I'm imagining you in your underwear. Who's scared now? And so, where does all of this leave me? Well, do you remember earlier on when I said that I was a little bit lucky? After beating the game, let's just say I was on a high horse, okay? Was this easy or did I get lucky? I wanted to put it to the test and find out if Dark Souls was also replayable. So I went to the lab, did some actual learning, and brought some ideas to play around with. After my first run, I wanted to know how far I could make it in one sitting. So, with a free day, I sat down, locked in the sorcerer class, and promptly blew that shit up. Holy shit, you're telling me this was in the game the whole time? Ornstein and Smough reduced to rubble with a little blue arrow? Attacks that hone in on enemies for me? While I didn't beat the game in one sitting, I was moving and grooving through these areas with the knowledge and mastery that I could have only gained through the repeated exposure that I was talking about earlier. Also, the replayability rabbit hole goes way deeper than I imagined. I love how this different build asked me to beat the same game, but with a different strategy. Bosses that were once difficult were easier, sure, but on the same coin, some familiar foes posed a new challenge. For example, the Lord Vessel Soul bosses were wimpy shrimps for the mighty noble Newt, but they were more of a threat for magic slinging John Darksoul over here. Where they had higher magic resistances, John Darksoul had lower health and slower attacks. When reading the Steam reviews, I wasn't sure how replayable the game would feel to me. I saw people saying, oh yeah, you have all these different builds, but after beating the game once, was I really going to want to play it again? And the answer to that is yes, it just feels good. It feels good to play. And so playing it again with a different build, having to conjure a different strategy, it's fun, it's exciting. I could see myself playing it multiple times. What I could not imagine doing is PvP. No, I'm not going to do it, dude. I'm not doing it. Stop asking. And so my final thoughts, I really enjoyed Dark Souls. I genuinely didn't think I would enjoy it as much as I did. And if you're on the fence, I'd encourage you, go try it out. If you're like me and you haven't played it, but you've seen everybody been talking about it, it seems like, oh, everyone's been talking about Dark Souls, Elden Ring, Monkey Man, Crab Guy. Just go give it a shot. It's actually a good time. I had so much fun, in fact, that I will certainly be trying out Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, and other games in the Souls arena. Those are my thoughts on the beloved classic Dark Souls 1. If you want to see my 45-hour journey edited down into a 2.5-hour video, you can find the full saga in the description. For more of my stuff, the stream and Discord links are in the description. Come on down. I saved a seat for you, all right? Kept it warm. I got it right there for you. Like, comment, subscribe, all that nonsense. All right, bye.